Hi, friend. Welcome back to the Raising Wild Hearts podcast, where we believe we can change the world by starting at home. Today's conversation was recorded live at Rise and Flourish 2025. I co-hosted it with my friend Ashley. We had 40 plus attendees, all women from various walks of life who came to get their cups filled up, and everybody left the room so inspired, so excited. I've been hearing so many takeaways from the day. And if you weren't able to make it to Rise and Flourish live, be sure to head over to raisingwildhearts.com/rise so you can get on the wait list for future events. So today's conversation is hosted by my dear friend, Danielle Neufeld. Danielle and her husband, Greg, co-host a podcast together that I love called The Most Important Thing. They talk about family leadership and culture in a really tangible, systematic way, and I absolutely love it. So you can listen by heading over to tmitpod.com, or you can find The Most Important Thing wherever you listen to your podcast. Today, Danielle is sitting down with Jessica Hausknecht. She was one of the speakers at Rise and Flourish, and she taught us all about conscious parenting, how to manage our triggers, the difference between triggers and emotions, and how to basically not lose our stuff when we're in the thick of it. Parenting. Jessica is a conscious parenting coach, and she helps families move from chaos to connection. And together, Danielle and Jessica are talking about healing from triggers, finding alignment with your partner, and what it really means to raise emotionally healthy kids without losing your own joy in the process. That part is really important. I can't wait for you guys to hear this conversation with Danielle and Jessica. Let's jump in. You just finished your session. How do you feel?
I feel good. I thought it was such a nice response. Everybody participated and was open, which is really important to making changes.
Yeah, nobody wanted it to end. Lots of questions, lots of engagement. So what does it mean to you to rise and flourish in this season of your life?
To rise and flourish is about connection for me, that deep, meaningful, real connection. And it's aligned with my purpose and what I do. So much of my life, I had friends and family, and I was surrounded by a lot of people, yet I felt very lonely a lot of the times growing up. And so my mission has been to understand that and kind of heal that hole in my heart and not just say, well, we're mother-daughter, we're aunt and niece, so we're family, but about really cultivating a relationship with these different people and friends that goes deeper than that. Like, who are we really? How do we support each other? How do we show up for each other? What kind of quality time do we give each other? So I've been focusing on in my life at this point with my own family, my mom, but also my children, and then even friends, because I do believe that is what life is about. That's what, when we die, we'll die happy if we felt we lived a really deeply connected life where we supported others and we mattered to them and where we knew what that real deep love was.
That's beautiful. Thank you. So the session you just led was on a lot of things, but really kind of understanding our triggers and moving from that chaos to connection. How did you get started on this work?
Definitely, it was my pain at first. It wasn't like, oh, Jessica, you're such a great parent. You should teach the rest of us.
Right.
Instead, I struggled for a really long time with yelling in my home, not being able to get my kids to listen, and having the same fights we had been having for year after year, getting ready for bed, getting out of the house, homework, what to eat, sibling fights. And so I just knew there had to be a better way. And I mean, I studied and researched for years until I finally found conscious parenting, discovered parent coaches existed. I had never even heard of them. And I learned all these new skills to be able to manage my own triggers and build that deep connection within my family. And because it was so hard to come across that information, even though I find myself, I'm smart, I'm a self-starter, I'm a quick learner, my husband as well, I just really wanted to make that more accessible to other moms. I didn't want them to have to struggle for years, pay for thousands of dollars of therapy and all the things, when really this is information we need to be handed like at the hospital.
For sure. I agree with that. Absolutely. Can you tell us a bit more about alignment in your work? Today, you were talking to
a room full of moms, right? Without our partners. How does that typically work for you? And I would assume that it's more effective when the parents are sharing the responsibility and the education and the coaching that you do with them.
Yeah. So your question is about with their partner not being there. How does that align for parents back home?
And how does for your work
Mhm.
too?
Yeah, it's definitely, I always encourage both partners, anyone involved in the parenting, to go through training together, or else it is the one person going through it and then teaching the other.
Right.
And that doesn't always go over very well. The husband doesn't always want to learn from the wife.
Yeah.
And it is usually the women, the moms who do the training. And that was my personal situation as well. I did the training and then I had to get my husband on board. And it was hard enough to make these shifts in the home. Everybody judging you because conscious parenting looks like you're not giving your kids any guidance. You're just letting them run amok because you don't scream at them in front of everybody.
Right.
Instead, we take them to the side. Hey, I need to talk to you. And we have a nice civilized conversation. That's not an appropriate behavior. That's hurtful to that person or whatever it was. Are you good to not do it again? You understand why? And then they get to go out and play. But to everyone else, it looks like we coddled the child because they didn't scream at them.
Absolutely.
So you're coming up against a lot of people with a lot of strong beliefs that have been around for generations, including your partner's belief. So it's not impossible, but it is a quicker, I think, for the family when both parents are doing the training together. Yeah, it's not that you and your partner have to agree on everything. Disagreeing in front of your kids is wonderful. Show them how to have conflict and not agree with one another and still come up with something that everybody works for everybody's needs and wants. So it's not about having to align on every little thing. It's not about not having conflict or disagreements in the home. Those are definitely very healthy to model. It is about coming to some similar truths, though, that are rooted in science and research.
If there's one micro action or micro habit that you would love for the listeners and for the women here today to take away, what would it be?
I think the first step in making changes is not settling and not giving up and believing. If it doesn't feel right, if it's horrible and full of guilt and fighting every single day, it's not supposed to be like that. Don't settle with the belief like, this is just parenting. It's hard. Parenting is hard and there are struggles and there are ways that you can coach children from a place of peace and not all this disconnect and discord and anger. There are processes that can really root you in not reacting, but responding instead. So I just encourage everybody to live daily with joy in their life and really enjoying parenting, enjoying the stuff they've signed up to. And if they're not, learning how they can and not giving up until they find that peace and happiness, because life is too short to not be happy.
Yeah, I like to think that parenting is hard sometimes, but so is everything that is joyful and meaningful and worth it, right?
Every job.
It's not necessarily supposed to be easy, right? It gives life meaning and purpose. And certainly I love what you brought up in your workshop around, like, when I completed the triggers, a lot of the root causes were, I don't like to see selfish behavior at home because that wasn't acceptable in my home, right? I don't like to see helplessness from my children because I wasn't allowed to feel helpless. And so parenting can be such a beautiful way of reparenting ourselves, right? It's kind of like a forcing function, if you will.
Yeah, it definitely does. When we can switch that mindset, which is the whole premise of it all, to how can I use what is happening to evolve? How can I use this to build skill for me and my kids versus why is this happening to me? I can't believe it's happening to me again, or all the other thoughts that we have. It can be empowering.
I think a lot about how parenting has made me such a creative problem solver. Because one of the things we talked a lot about in the workshop is people having to repeat themselves, right? And things not working and how sometimes it really can take a long time. I think having that source of strength, like you mentioned, and just believing in ourselves and then being able to trust that we will figure it out if we do look inside and perhaps get playful with it. The spilled milk was once a trigger, but I can laugh at myself about it at this point because I'm here now and I'm the adult in the room now, right? It can be such a beautiful reframe.
And that's a huge mindset shift in itself, is creative problem solving. I know for me, it was like so black and white. This is right. This is wrong. This is the way you solve this problem. Well, it's not. I can actually empower my child to come up with that solution. Let them know they matter. They're a part of this team. And when they do this, it hurts the rest of their team. And look at what the rest of the team does to support her. There's so many ways to solve a problem.
Yeah.
And we all know that you have more options, more creative solutions come up when a lot of people work together. More brains are better than one. I really find that to be true. And a really beautiful part of it is the teamwork that's involved in the collaboration, all these solutions, because you can find something that usually works for most people. Just take more than a second and use your team to come up with that.
I feel like it's reconfiguring the way my brain works sometimes. Do you know what I mean? I feel those new neurons firing when it's like, wait, you mean I could do it a different way? There is a different choice, right? Than the way my parents did it. This whole new world can really open up and allow us to be creative and buoyant within it, right?
Yeah. And you're so true. Like you can almost feel it. Like your brain's like, oh, no, we don't do it like that. And it's trying to pull you back into the regular.
Yeah.
But this other part's like, oh, but maybe. And then it just becomes more fluid. And then just the way that it is over time. It seems like you'll never get there, but it's really amazing that the way that the human body and brain works and that we really can get anything done that we really think is important that we go after.
What would you say to the mom that this year just didn't feel like she had the time?
I didn't know many of the other speakers here, but I really love the other speakers that I've heard so far. And I just have a lot of trust in this summit and the organizers to really pick people who are really worth listening to. I was really blown away by the participation in all of the different sessions, which just really showed how it was content that people really needed and wanted community to share it with. So if people weren't able to make it this year, I would definitely say it's something worth catching next year and prioritizing. I definitely, as a coach, am always encouraging self-study, self-care, time to enhance your skills. And this is a perfect summit to do that.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jessica. On a personal note, what is your favorite self-care ritual or routine today?
Probably yin yoga is my favorite right now. It's really hard because I'm kind of like a variety girl.
Yeah, me too.
And it's like breathwork, meditation, yoga, and yin.
Thank you for joining me.
Yeah,
It was great to have you today.
Nice to meet you.
Wasn't that such a grounding conversation? I loved Jessica's reminder that when something in our parenting doesn't quite feel right, we don't have to settle. We can choose connection over chaos and joy over guilt. Yes, please. If you loved this episode, check out Jessica's work at findmyzenfam.com. And remember, listen to my friend Danielle on her podcast, The Most Important Thing. And of course, if you haven't yet, follow along with the Raising Wild Hearts podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your shows. Until next time, friends, go love someone well.